Hello, everybody. Welcome to another Monday Morning Jumpstart. We are rejoined by AWAI's Chief Success Officer, Ted Capshaw. Hi, Ted.
What's happening?
Well, I think you're now Chief Self-Esteem Officer, Chief Control of Your Life Officer, all the things.
Yeah. I wish I was that last one for sure.
Right? It would be nice to have that wand. Okay, so we're going to play, we're going to provide full transparency today. Ted, when we say that he works with the AWAI team, he really does work with the full AWAI team. And we meet with Ted regularly. And we just had a meeting with him recently. And, it's always multiple topics that come up and we bring up. And I think you were close to closing, Ted, when you brought up this idea of, are you surviving or are you are you thriving or are you simply surviving?
Yeah.
And it's something that we hear often, but I don't know if it was the time of year or if it was just coming off of the last 3 years, what it was, but it felt like this was like a hitting home for so many people. So I wanted to bring it to the masses because if anybody else is maybe not realizing that they're in pure survival mode, we wanted to bring awareness to it. So Ted, what do you have to say to anybody listening today about how to evaluate or which bucket they might be in?
What's interesting, because you said we've heard it many times before, and that is true. I think we've heard it many times, and it was no different for me. So I've heard around this concept, survive versus thrive, for years, right? But it stopped me in my tracks when a buddy of mine, a friend of mine that I work with and do, whatever, but his name's Jeff. He gave a talk about it, and I happened to be there. And it was about 2 or 3 months after people started going back in the world after the pandemic. And I was like, oh my Lord, like, am I in survival mode? It was just timely. It hit me so hard. And now what I'd say, the reason I'm saying it, bringing it in the context in this light is, so if you have heard this before, or even if it has hit you in the past, this is one that we have to constantly revisit. So it's interesting because last week I ended by talking about the manifestation of certain things.
Yes.
Right. We can easily just look at the pandemic, right? And how fear manifests itself into behaviors, and then all of a sudden we wound up in survival mode. So let's talk about the difference, right? There's a mental and a practical difference. This is at least the way I interpret it, right? Or at least the way that it works for me. Survival mode, you are literally just trying to get by. You have foregone any vision that you put together. You have foregone saying, I'm still shooting for these goals. You are like, I just need to make sure that I can get another client, that I can maintain some level of happiness, that I can just get through. Happiness might not even be in the equation, quite frankly. So you're basically saying, I just need to get through.
Yes.
Right? Basic human needs type thing. Energy is depleted. You're not doing anything outside of the box. Right? You're not taking any level of calculated risk. We could list out the behaviors, right? The mental is literally, it's almost mundane. It's, I'm getting through. How many people did you talk to during the pandemic and I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel? Listen to that language. How many times have you heard people say, I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel? Those people on a hamster wheel, which I've been on, they're in survival mode, right? Not doing anything creative, no calculated risk.
No time for yourself, I feel like no growth, time for yourself.
No,
yeah, huge
none
one.
of that. Why would I try to grow? I just need to get through.
Yes. And how much do you hear that? I just need to get through the day.
Right. Now, thriving, a different level of behavior. So I used some very intentional words. Calculated risk. In business, we're talking to people that in some instances have their writing business started, in other instances are starting to write it. You are going to have to take calculated risks. In survival mode, my bet is you won't take calculated risks, right? Your creativity is minimized in survival mode. In a thriving mode, you're like, I'm going to try something new. Why? Because I can, and because I want to, and because it might feed, right? But in survival mode, you're like, there's no way I'm going to try to do anything creative or different, right? It's just not going to happen. And so you can already start to see how there's a very distinct difference between it. And there's also a difference in just approach.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, Jade, this is fully transparent. And what made me realize this was that you've heard me talk about vision. You've known me for 7 or 8 years. I talk about Angel and my boys all the time. And somewhere 12, 18 months into the pandemic, I had lost the dang vision that I was building for my family. Mm-hmm. And when I heard Jeff talk about it, I was like, I have lost it. Like I don't even know where we're going to be 2 or 3 years from now. I just need to make sure, for me, the breadwinner of the house, that money was coming in, that the kids were getting fed, that we were going to, there was no creative fun. There was no vision for something bigger than the life than what we had. And I was like, I'm on the hamster wheel. I'm in surviving. So I just want the homework for this week. I know there's probably more to talk about in the US, but here's the deal. I'm going to get the homework right away. Mm-hmm. I just need you to answer the question. Are you in survival mode or are you thriving?
Yeah.
And then I need you to, I've given this probably the last 2 weeks. I'm sure you've noticed this. There's no cookie cutter stuff to the stuff that we're talking about. You need to interpret the stuff that we're talking about and make it applicable to your specific life. Mm-hmm. And so this is the same type of thing. Now, I wasn't being creative. I wasn't taking calculated risk, and I surely wasn't dreaming anymore. Mm-hmm. I was not dreaming for my family anymore. And I needed to start doing those things, right, proactively. And so I want people to are you surviving or thriving right now, current state? And then what do you need to bring back? How's it applicable to your specific life? Now, the reason I said in the beginning, then I'm going to shut up and punt it over to you. This has to be revisited. Something mm-hmm. else is going to be thrown at you that will put you into surviving mode. 100%. And then you're going to have to go back and go, all right, this round, how's it showing up? What do I need to pivot? What do I need to bring back to get me back into thriving mode? And you'll feel it almost instantaneously when you get back on course.
Yes. It's funny, Ted, because like you said, it's a recurring thing. And something I realized a couple of years ago when this came up for me is that at that time, and to go back to last week's entitled, I didn't feel entitled to thrive. I thought, it's great for everybody else. I want everybody else to thrive. I see how people are thriving. I'm so happy for them. But I didn't feel entitled to thrive. And I don't know, maybe even if yours was maybe similar to this unconsciously, there's almost like some of the residual of pandemic is like survivor's guilt, right? Like we got through it. So who are we to aspire for the stars when we are here and we got through it and we're okay, right? When there's so many other people that aren't or did not make it through, whatever the case is, right? So at that time, I did not feel worthy of thriving. So to get over that first, right? And then feel worthy that the fact that I'm human, therefore I am worthy of thriving. And then the realizations of like, I'm just in survival mode. How do I, again, to go back to control, carve out the time? Because it's time and energy to thrive, right? It's because you can't just be going through the motions. That's the survival. It's awareness and then energy and time that creates the thriving mode. But I feel like it can be so easily turned on as soon as you start the dreaming part, right? Like just start dreaming about what you want and how you want things to look like and changes you want to make. And even if you don't end up executing all of them, it that kicks a drive in you, it feels like, that makes that shift and helps that change. So it can be as simple as that.
It can be. It can be.
Yeah.
So slow down, people. This is one. This is not like you're going to live in eternity of, thriving. That's not the point here. The point here is that when you're in this, there's a distinction between the two.
Yes.
And we've heard it many times. I like how you set it up because we've all heard it many times, but have we really slowed down and how does it applicable to our own life? And I told you, it took Jeff to say it, which, I had probably said it to dozens of people, but then Jeff said it to me. Yeah. I was like, oh God.
And one more point on it, said it's not like a switch that goes between the two. It's like incrementally you start to leave thrive and go to survive. And I think when you switch the consciousness on, you incrementally move from survive to thrive, right? It's not a very easy thing to go back and forth between. So it takes some consciousness. Okay, so Ted already laid up our homework for today. I think that this tees up perfectly into next week. We're just going to bring consciousness into energy and where you're spending your energy and how it's showing up in your day. Ted, another thought-provoking and incredible session. So thank you so much.
Cool. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. And thanks, Jeff. Bye, everyone.